All right, everyone, Bidenomics is a failure. Of course, inflation has stopped sharply rising, but it's not actually falling. I've already explained why their fuzzy numbers, their fuzzy math really doesn't apply to a year-over-year metric. They keep saying that inflation has cooled. It's now 6.4% instead of, I think it was 7 point something last month. Yeah, that's because, it's a year-over-year measure. So it was still rising last year at the same time. So in order to go linear, the actual month-over-month number has to fall. Otherwise, it's still rising. And Bidenflation is sticky. It ain't going nowhere. The legacy media is preemptively putting out gaslighting and propaganda on this by blaming millennials and Zoomers, who are saying their particular lifestyles are going to keep inflation high. Yeah, it's all our fault. Once again, everything under the sun is our fault, except for things that are actually our fault, which are okay. Very bizarre newspeak we have lately, isn't it? But let them not eat cake is now the name of the game. The Wall Street Journal has an interesting solution for you and others who can't afford to do as many things because the inflation rate is so high and still pacing well ahead of wage growth. Just skip breakfast. Yes, believe it or not, link in the description, archived of course, we have finally come to the culmination of years and years of insulting hot takes by the legacy media, of outright propaganda. I would give this an award for worst news story that's been posted in the last 10 years if I could. It is probably the most insulting suggestion that I've seen. The idea is, well, in the morning, you may like scrambled egg, toast, and bacon, but maybe you should just skip that because, you could lose a little bit of weight anyway. You're an American, everyone's obese, and all the other memes, Americans and shit. So just have a cup of coffee. By the way, and this is actually in there, coffee costs haven't risen as much as the cost for eggs and toast and things like that. It's the most brain-dead take that I've seen. Written by people as part of a corporation where you have a steady job, working as an editor or writer for the Wall Street Journal. You probably have it kind of going on. You're not making as much circulation as you used to because the legacy media is slowly dying. But you've got a job. You've got a job that probably pays fairly well. And so you're kind of sheltered from that. You don't have to worry quite so much. And you can work remotely a lot of times. If you're in the legacy media, file off the article via email or fax machine or something. Send it into the editorial room. Most Americans and indeed most people in the world don't have that luxury. And a lot of people work damn hard and get very little, like farmers, which the Dutch government too is trying to take a dump on. You're working 60 hours a week. You're not really accruing any great wealth. Yes, you have your home that's been in your family for 300 years, so thankfully you don't have to pay that fucking mortgage on a four-bedroom farmhouse, and you've got your acreage and your tractors and shit. A lot of farming in the world is debt-related. So farmers go into debt every single year to get the seeds, the fertilizer, etc., and then they hope that there's a good harvest, which the government doesn't devalue all of the time, so some years are better than others. And if things fall flat, usually you can get a subsidy to keep you afloat, but you haven't really made headway, and then the next year you rinse and repeat. Again, you hope that the weather is good. You hope that there's no major geopolitical destabilization that drives up the cost of nitrate fertilizer like it literally has lately. By the way, there are ways to avoid having to absorb so much cost, but farmers have been lured away by the petrochemical industry, number one, and by the GMO seed industry, number two, away from varieties that they could actually use to capitalize on that. They were mentioning that in the article about Mexico's rising corn war against the United States. Oh boy, is that one going to sting, because most farmers don't grow the kind of corn that Mexico is willing to import anymore. So with all of this going on, the working and middle classes suffering, when the solid middle class begins wondering if they can buy their Egg McMuffin, that's when things get unpopular. The suggestion, just skip breakfast. Well, what do you do if you have a kid? The kid should not skip breakfast unless they've got some, juvenile diabetes or something. They have to keep their weight really low. Okay, maybe Jimmy only has, his ADHD meds and a salad for breakfast. A lot of people work hard, though. Have to go out on your fucking commute. You don't want to just be on coffee and you're getting all dizzy and shit like that because you haven't eaten anything in days. If the suggestion is, and this is to people who are in the middle class, if the suggestion is just start skipping meals, is that also not an admission that the economy fucking sucks? You're not just telling this to the poor, to the peasants out there. You're also telling it to people who would work in your newsroom. So it's very insulting indeed. It's nothing that I wouldn't expect from the Wall Street Journal. Let them not eat cake because they can't fucking afford it. Just switch to the water diet. Yeah, just if you're hungry, just drink a glass of water. We're sure you'll stay healthy. Don't worry. You won't end up with any deficiencies in mineral intake or anything like that. It's like, look at my situation. I do skip breakfast. But that's because I push it back later because I prefer to do my morning work on an empty stomach. All I want in there is caffeine and that's it. But I eat brunch each day. And then usually I will admit that I skip like actual lunch. And then I eat dinner, and usually, because I work late into the night, I'll have some more food later on after dinner. It may not be the healthiest schedule, but I am technically getting 3 meals a day, even if one of them tends to be quite small. Not everyone has that luxury, that particular schedule. If you're waking up at 7:30 in the morning and you have to commute to work for your 9 to 5, you probably want a little bit of food in your system. Otherwise, by lunchtime, you're going to be all hangry. You're going to be all grumpy and shit like that. Your coworkers will suffer. Your boss will say, "What the fuck is the matter with you, Mr. Smith? You're usually so happy." I'm sorry, the egg prices are really high. I'm basically running off of nothing more than chemicals right now. Couple of energy drinks. Oh wait, those prices rose too. So I have to get shit coffee. And by the way, they even mentioned the difference between ground and instant coffee in this article, I shit you not. Definitely a funny read for all the wrong reasons. That's about all. Peace out.